Hey, what's up you guys? It's Kyle with No BS Investing. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably spend a fortune on dog food to feed your children every day. Wait, sorry, that's the wrong script, my bad. Everybody has to eat. So when inflation hits consumers, this is the first place you feel it. When you take your weekly trip to the supermarket. No one is exempt from this pain. Today we're going to talk about the rise in grocery prices, the cause of this rise, historical analogs, and some tips you can use to combat these rising prices. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual expenditure on food at home in 2019 was $4,643, and this averages out to only about $89 a week for a single individual. A two-adult household was averaging between $120 and $220 a week. In hindsight, this seems like a bargain. Now in contrast, in 2024, the average single adult will spend upwards of $165 a week, with a household of two spending anywhere from $170 to $316 plus per week in groceries. And these figures don't even include the amount of money you spend eating out every month. This is only at-home groceries. The most frustrating part about this rise in groceries is that there's almost no way to counteract this without eating less healthy food or eating less food in general. In contrast, a homeowner can avoid some of the costs of housing inflation since mortgages won't continue to go up as prices rise, versus a renter who may have to deal with their rent going up every year. The homeowner's impact there will be much smaller, as they only have to deal with the rise in property taxes and insurance. Now, the same is not true for food. The rise in prices is seen across the board. For instance, bread in 2019 was $1.30. In 2024, it's $2.50. Milk has gone up from $2.90 to $4.50. A dozen eggs has gone up from $1.40 to $4.25, which is over a 3 times increase. A pound of ground beef has gone up from $3.99 to $7.50. Tomatoes from $1.70 to $2.80. Chicken breast from $1.99 to $3.99, another double. Coffee from $4.29 to $6.50. Potatoes from 79 cents to $1.30. And oranges have gone up from $1.10 to $1.80. To make this even worse, over the past 17 years, the number of weekly trips to the grocery store has gradually declined. This means that people are getting less groceries for more money. Now, what caused these prices to rise in the first place? Before we get into that, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below for the almighty YouTube algorithm so that I can afford to feed my children something other than dog food. Alright, I don't actually have children, but anyway, there's a few key reasons why we're paying more at the checkout in 2024. First off, inflation has been a major driver, obviously. The cost of living has steadily increased, impacting the price of goods, including groceries. Next, the Rona had lasting effects on supply chains. Disruptions in production and transportation caused massive shortages, which drove up prices. Even as supply chains stabilized, the costs associated with those disruptions lingered. And let's not forget about the rising cost in labor and fuel, both of which are crucial in getting food from farms to our tables. Higher wages for workers and more expensive transportation mean higher prices at the store. Contrary to what some politicians are saying, grocery stores actually have very low margins. For instance, Kroger's has a margin below 2%. 2%! That means for every $100 you spend at Kroger's, they make less than 2 cents after they pay all their expenses. Let's take a step back and look at how grocery prices have changed over the decades. The 1970s, for instance, was marked by high inflation, where prices of essential goods, including groceries, surged. This was partially due to the oil crisis and the economic policies of the time. Fast forward to the early 2000s and prices were relatively stable, but we've seen a gradual increase since then. The 2008 financial crisis also led to a noticeable spike in food prices, driven by higher production costs and global economic instability. The current situation is similar in some ways, but also unique. The pandemic-induced supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, and increased demand have compounded with global events, like the war in Ukraine, affecting fuel and grain prices. This has created the perfect storm for the rising grocery prices, making the inflation of the early 2020s some of the most challenging periods for consumers since the 1970s. Just to show you how much inflation we've had since then, in 1970, a loaf of bread cost around 25 cents. This comparison helps us understand while inflation is not new, the current rates are exacerbated by a complex mix of factors. Now, what can you do about this inflation anyway? There's several different strategies you can implement to save money on groceries yourself. The best approach may vary from person to person and depend on the size of your family. For instance, if you have a family of 3 or larger, it may be economical to get a membership to a wholesale club like Sam's or Costco. If you live alone, this might not make as much sense for you, as the food will likely go bad before you get to eat them. Unless you plan to live off potato chips, Pop-Tarts, and a 4-pack of pianos. Now, even if you live alone, you could still split a membership with a family member to reduce your per unit costs. Then you can still shop in bulk and just split everything with those family members. Another great way to save money on your weekly groceries is to use coupons. Now, these aren't just for old people, and many grocery stores now have apps so you don't even have to physically clip the coupons anymore. In addition to coupons, most grocery stores heavily discount the meat and baked goods that need sold that day towards the end of the evening. This produce is still perfectly good, but it can be discounted over 50%. So take advantage of this, can make a huge difference in your overall grocery costs. Another option is going to farmers markets. Shopping at local farmers markets is a great way to get fresh local produce, often at a lower price at the grocery stores. Since you're buying directly from the grower, there's no middleman markup, and you're also supporting local agriculture. Seasonal shopping is very important as well. Buying fruits and vegetables in season can save you a lot of money, since it doesn't need shipped from abroad. Seasonal produce is typically more abundant, fresher, less expensive, because it doesn't require costly storage or transportation from distant locations. If you have the space, starting a small garden can be a great way to reduce your grocery bill. Even a few herbs or a couple vegetable plants can make a huge difference. Plus, it's very rewarding to eat something you've grown yourself. You can also use price comparison apps like Flip or Basket to compare the prices at different stores. Then you can shop around and get the best deals for you. Some even allow you to see digital coupons or cashback offers so you can compare them between the stores. I personally use Upside, not sponsored, every time I go to the local grocery store. I usually get 2 to 5% cash back on top of the cash back I get from my credit cards already, and on top of the cash back I get for having a rewards app with the local grocery store. All this compounded can give me 10+% cash back on the food I purchase. Now, the most obvious but often overlooked thing is to avoid food waste. Planning meals and making grocery lists based on what you already have can prevent food waste and save money. Consider batch cooking and freezing meals to ensure you use all the groceries you buy. Now, if you plan all of your meals for that week, before you go to the grocery store, you buy only the food you need, which drastically reduces the chances of your food going bad. Versus if you just go to the store, just shop around, and buy whatever you feel like it at the time. You'll probably end up buying something that you don't actually need just to have it go bad. Food prepping is a very effective way to minimize waste and maximize affordability. You can buy your food in bulk since you'll be making multiple portions of the same meal, and just make all of your meals at once for the week. Alright, that's all today, but thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I'll see you next time.